All right, what is good, world? We are back with another video. Please don't ban me. I got banned too many times for talking about Bill Gates. I got banned way too many times for talking about Bill Gates. Can't even believe it. I mean, the media, social media is protecting this guy. Whew, fast. They're on it. As soon as you say something about Bill Gates, you're gone. It doesn't matter. Constitution, freedom of speech, Bill of Rights out the window. Bye bye. Censored. Done. So let me just say a disclaimer before this video starts. This is all fake. Everything, everything that you see in this video is fake. Okay? Don't ban me. We're gonna talk about Anthony Fauci, and Bill Gates, the connections, and what is going on. What is going on? Nobody voted for these people. Okay? Everybody's talking about who's going to be the president, Trump this, Trump that. Nobody's voting for Bill Gates or Anthony Fauci or BlackRock or Monsanto. Nobody's voting for any of this. So it doesn't matter who's president because nobody voted for Bill Gates. All right? So let's just start the video with this video that got me banned. And I don't know why it got me banned because it's fake. Don't ban me. This is fake. I just want to hear him talk. He's saying it, okay? All right? And let's go. Let's hear it.
We need to meet a new constraint, and that constraint has to do with CO2. CO2 is warming the planet, and the equation on CO2 is actually a very straightforward one. If you sum up the CO2 that gets emitted, that leads to a temperature increase, and that temperature increase leads to some very negative effects. The effects on the weather, perhaps worse, the indirect effects in that the natural ecosystems can't adjust to these rapid changes, and so you get ecosystem collapses. Now, the exact amount of how you map from a certain increase in of CO2 to what temperature will be and where the positive feedbacks are, there's some uncertainty there, but not very much. And there's certainly uncertainty about how bad those effects will be, but they will be extremely bad. I asked the top scientists on this several times, do we really have to get down to near zero? Can't we just, cut it in half or a quarter? And the answer is that until we get near to zero, the temperature will continue to rise. And so that's a big challenge. It's very different than saying, we're a 12-foot high truck trying to get under a 10-foot bridge and we can just sort of squeeze under. This is something that has to get to zero. Now, we put out a lot of carbon dioxide every year, over 26 billion tons. For each American, it's about 20 tons. For people in poor countries, it's less than 1 ton. It's an average about 5 tons for everyone on the planet. And somehow we have to make changes that will bring that down to zero. It's been constantly going up. It's only various economic changes that have even flattened it at all. So we have to go from rapidly rising to falling and falling all the way to zero. This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So
I just want to pause and just add something. This is about innovating to zero. In the first variable in his equation is people. I just want to say that. I'm not insinuating anything because this is all fake anyways, but that's pretty interesting.
look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3.
So I don't know what was said because I don't know anything because I don't want to get banned, okay? I just want to rewind for 1 second. Let's hear that one more time before we continue with the rest of my video. I'm not going to watch this whole thing. This is like a 30-minute video. I'm not watching this whole thing. Okay, I just want to show this little part. Let's hear it one more time.
Back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
You heard him, folks. I don't know what he's saying because I don't know anything. Don't ban me. Let's continue. So I was talking to Grok about the genetically modified mosquitoes that Bill Gates released. This is fake. Don't ban me. I don't know anything. Let's read. Heart failure. This is what is alarming. This is what doesn't. I have to check this because what is this? 973% increase among naval officers after the vaccine came out. I'm not saying it's related to the vaccine or anything. All this is fake anyways. Everything's fake, okay? Don't ban me. But what is that? 1,000% increase. 10 times. Tenfold. Why would heart failure go up 10 times for the naval officers? What? What is that even? What? Heart attack. Look at this. 100% increase for COVID positive patients. 300% if you were hospitalized. Only double if you just were positive. But it says 300% increase if you were hospitalized. So, yeah. I think I take my chances at home. Pulmonary embolisms. 250% increase. You know, these people, man. Blood clots. 2,100% increase for blood clots in the first week post-COVID. Oh my God. What is going on? So, you know, these diseases are not just, oh, I got sick. You know, these things are doing other things in your body. These things are attacking other things in your body, your heart, your fucking lungs, you know, your blood vessels. Pulmonary embolism is crazy. What is that, a blood clot in your lung, right? That's crazy. Nuts. Let's keep it moving. I just want to hear Bill Gates talk a little more, you know? Sometimes you can just sit back and let people... I don't know anything. This is all fake. Please don't ban me. Let's go.
The position he's been given in this incoming administration.
Well, he wrote a book saying that Tony Fauci and I kill millions of children and make billions of dollars with vaccines. And, you know, people can judge for themselves whether that's correct or not.
The position he's been given in this incoming administration.
Well, he wrote a book saying that Tony Fauci and I kill millions of children and make billions of dollars with vaccines. And, you know, people can judge for themselves whether that's correct or not.
Bruh. All right. Let's watch Anthony Fauci shaking in court. You know what I mean? Straight to Congress. Let's look at this. Look at this.
Pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That is
you can't
not...
get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
I'm not obfuscating the truth. You are the one. I'm not obfuscating the truth. You are the one. I'm not obfuscating the truth. You are the one.
Pandemic.
The truth, you were the one. I'm not obfuscating the truth, you were the one.
Pandemic. What we're
That boy was shaking. Look at this. Bro. Wow, that boy was shook. Rand Paul had that boy shook in Congress. Let's watch a little bit of this, man. They see these people, everybody's not down with it, man. Everybody is not down with the bullshit. Let's listen, man. They're in Congress, man. It's Congress right here.
Dr. Fauci, we don't know whether the pandemic started in a lab in Wuhan or evolved naturally, but we should want to know. 3 million people have died from this pandemic, and that should cause us to explore all possibilities. Instead, government authorities, self-interested in continuing gain-of-function research, say there's nothing to see here. Gain-of-function research, as you know, is juicing up naturally occurring animal viruses to infect humans. To arrive at the truth, the U.S. government should admit that the Wuhan Virology Institute was experimenting to enhance the coronavirus's ability to infect humans. Juicing up superviruses is not new. Scientists in the U.S. have long known how to mutate animal viruses to infect humans. For years, Dr. Ralph Barrick, a virologist in the U.S., has been collaborating with Dr. Shi Zhengli of the Wuhan Virology Institute, sharing his discoveries about how to create superviruses. This gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH. The collaboration between the U.S. and the Wuhan Virology Institute continues. Doctors Barrick and Shi worked together to insert bat virus spike protein into the backbone of the deadly SARS virus, and then use this man-made supervirus to infect human airway cells. Think about that for a moment. The SARS virus had a 15% mortality. We're fighting a pandemic that has about a 1% mortality. Can you imagine if a SARS virus that's been juiced up and had viral proteins added to it, to the spike protein, if that were released accidentally? Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund
of Virology.
Dr. Barrick?
We do not fund.
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain-of-function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain-of-function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina.
You don't think it's
You see how you see how they do that? You see, but if he is, he just said he's not doing gain-of-function research. But if he is doing gain-of-function research, it's within the guidelines. Dude's a fucking attorney. They got these fucking professional alleged liars. Professional alleged liars, bro. This is all fake, by the way. I don't think he's lying. I think he's telling the truth. He's fucking perfect. Look at him. He's perfect. Do your fucking research. He's perfect, dude. Why would he lie? Dr. Fauci's all for the people. Put on your fucking mask.
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund
of Virology.
Dr. Barrick?
We do not fund.
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain-of-function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain-of-function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina, not
You don't think inserting
in
a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute into the SARS virus is gain-of-function?
That is
You would
not
be in the minority because at least 200 scientists have signed a statement from the Cambridge Working Group saying that it is gain-of-function.
Well, it is not. And if you look at the grant and you look at the progress reports, it is not gain of function, despite the fact that people tweet that,
So
They
do
write
you still
about it.
support sending money to the Wuhan Virology Institute?
We do not send money now to the Wuhan
Do you
Virology
support
Institute.
sending money? We did under your tutelage. We were sending it through EcoHealth. It was a sub-agency and a sub-grant. Do you support that the money from NIH that was going to the Wuhan Institute?
Let me explain to you why that was done. The SARS-CoV-1 originated in bats in China. It would have been irresponsible of us if we did not investigate the bat viruses and the serology to see who might have been
Or
infected.
perhaps it would be
in China.
irresponsible to send it to the Chinese government that we may not be able to trust with this knowledge and with this incredibly dangerous viruses. Government scientists like yourself who favor gain-of-function research.
I don't favor gain-of-function
maintain
research
that
in
the
China.
disease
You are
arose
saying
naturally.
things that are not correct.
Government defenders of gain-of-function, such as yourself, say that COVID-19 mutations were random and not designed by man. But interestingly, the technique that Dr. Barrick developed forces mutations by serial passage through cell culture that the mutations appear to be natural. In fact, Dr. Barrick named the technique the no-see-em technique because the mutations appear naturally. Nicholas Baker of the New York Magazine said nobody would know if the virus had been fabricated in a laboratory or grown in nature. Governor Thor.
Bro, do you know how sneaky that is? They're manipulating this shit to where there's no strings attached, to where it looks like the cells mutated naturally, but actually it was all artificially created. It was created. So they're creating it and leaving no trace, making it look natural, like it didn't come from them. Allegedly, because this is all fake. Please don't ban me. Wow, this is crazy.
Authorities in the U.S., including yourself, unequivocally deny that COVID-19 could have escaped a lab. But even Dr. Shi in Wuhan wasn't so sure. According to Nicholas Baker, Dr. Shi wondered, could this new virus have come from her own laboratory? She checked her records frantically and found no matches. That really took a load off my mind, she said. I had not slept for days. The director of the gain-of-function research in Wuhan couldn't sleep because she was terrified that it might be in her lab. Dr. Barrick, an advocate of gain-of-function research, admits the main problem that the Institute of Virology has is the outbreak occurred in close proximity. What are the odds? Barrick responded, could you rule out a laboratory escape? The answer in this case is probably not. Will you, in front of this group, categorically say that the COVID-19 could not have occurred through serial passage in a laboratory?
I do not have any accounting of what the Chinese may have done, and I'm fully in favor of any further investigation of what went on in China. However, I will repeat again, the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
You support it in the U.S. We have 11 labs doing it, and you have allowed it here. We have a committee to do it, but the committee has granted every exemption. You're fooling with Mother Nature here. You're allowing super viruses to be created with a 15% mortality. It's very dangerous. I think it was a huge mistake to share this with China, and it's a huge mistake to allow this to continue in the United States. And we should be very careful to investigate where this virus came from.
I fully agree that you
I don't want to hear this little fucking weasel talk any goddamn more. Holy shit, that guy is fucking fried, bro. Just an attorney sitting there just fucking slithering. Shut the fuck up. Nah, I really like RFK Jr., man. I mean, he's very hard to fucking understand sometimes. I mean, why the fuck don't they have a goddamn speaker for him? You know, I don't know if he has like a disease or a problem, but we can't fucking understand him sometimes. So you just gotta bear with him, man. RFK, we don't know what the fuck you're saying, bro. Why don't they have a speaker? We feel what you're saying because he's speaking the truth and literally saving the world. But bro, we don't know what the fuck you're saying. Get a speaker that can speak for you clearly or something. Dude, we gotta figure this shit out, bro, because people don't give a fuck. They can't hear what you're even saying. How people are gonna care? How will people care and they don't know what you're saying, bro? So it's like, I don't know. They need a motherfucking speaker. But let's hear RFK Jr. talk about the relationship, the long-term relationship between Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci, because these guys are like best buddies. These are best buddies right here, allegedly. Because this is all fake. Please don't ban me. But damn, let me just check it out.
Gates has these incestuous relationships with Anthony Fauci that go back 20 years, where he's paying Fauci, and they have all kinds of really corrupt financial entanglements with each other. He brought Fauci to his house in 2000, and his $189 million house in Seattle, brought him into the den, sat him down, and said, "I want to have a partnership with you."
Whoa.
The way that Fauci explains it is that Fauci would develop the drugs and then pass them on to the drug companies, to Merck, Sanofi, Gilead, Johnson & Johnson. Gates would then guarantee markets in Africa through his control of WHO.
Oh, wow.
Those companies don't want to give vaccines to Africa because it's very uncertain. Botswana has a government this year that says, yeah, we want them, and not next year. And Gates, because he controls WHO, he controls those countries, because WHO pays for their health ministries and supplies all their HIV medications, and they have to do what WHO tells them to do. So he can require those countries to buy the vaccines from these companies, and he then is invested in the companies. And by the way, Gates has no pretension that he gives a crap about public health. His other investments are in tobacco companies, in processed foods, in Coca-Cola, in Cargill, in Monsanto, Philip Morris, Kraft, cheese, and then all the oil companies.
So basically he's saying this guy doesn't care about health. How could he care about health when he's investing in everything that's unhealthy?
Which he owns stakes in virtually all of them. So he's not a guy who cares about climate or who cares about public health. He's a guy who cares about control. Listen, you saw him every day. He was on TV, Dr. Gates, as a public health expert. Telling you, what was his message? You got to shut down, you got to lock down, you got to wear masks, and it will never end until you take your vaccine, which I'm making for you.
Saying that Tony Fauci and I kill millions of children and make billions of dollars with vaccines, and people can judge for themselves whether that's correct or not.
You can judge for yourself whether that's correct or not. You heard the man. You heard him. We gotta watch all these videos, man. I'm trying to bring you guys through to watch these videos so you can see where my mind is, man, because I'm telling you, something is up, but not really, because this is all fake. Please don't ban me. Big disclaimers in here, baby. I keep getting banned. Please don't ban me because I'm saying this is all fake. Let's listen. Let's watch this one.
He had a bunch of international global health leaders that he invited to his home that was showing everyone in the tour of the house. And he said, "Can I have some time with you in my library, this amazingly beautiful library?" And it was there that he said, "Tony, you run the biggest infectious disease institute in the world, and I want to make sure the money I spend is well spent. Why don't we really get to know each other? Why don't we be partners?" Our interactions and our collaborations became closer and closer with tuberculosis, with HIV, with the vaccine trial.
The Department of Justice asked the federal trial court in Seattle to fine Gates a record $1 million a day for antitrust violations. Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson ruled that Microsoft had violated the 1890 Sherman Antitrust Act prohibitions outlawing monopolies and cartels.
If you go back and look at Bill Gates' business history as the first top executive and founder of Microsoft, it's quite clear that he was very interested in acting as a monopoly.
We've all seen the footage of him testifying as he's rocking back and forth in a chair with his arms crossed in a kind of a rather odd behavior.
The Justice Department has charged Microsoft with engaging in anti-competitive and exclusionary practices designed to maintain its monopoly in personal computer operating systems.
The Microsoft Explorer decision caused Microsoft to divest from what was clear.
All right, so we have Bill Gates getting in trouble over some trust laws. So, red flags about being trustworthy or not. And this guy's buying all the damn farmland, releasing millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions of mosquitoes, genetically modified mosquitoes, buying up all the farmland and investing in all of these, getting into vaccines and everything. Like, what the fuck? This guy is fucking loose. This is crazy. Free range. Buddy has free range. Nobody's stopping this shit. Everything is just, it don't matter. It doesn't matter who's president. This guy is loose. He's out here and has all the money in the world. This guy, see, these people are so sneaky that, allegedly, because they're not sneaky, this is all fake. Don't believe anything you see in this video, disclaimer. But these people are so sneaky, they'll do everything through other people, like pay those people and then pay the people that, through those, like everybody's connected through certain people, so they try to like wash it all so it's just like clean. They try to, it's kind of like washing your money. You put it through here and then it goes through there and it goes through there and it comes back to you, that's what they're doing. So it's like, oh, let me fund this doctor that's funding this other doctor that's doing the gain of function research, so that in court I can say, I'm not doing gain of function research and they don't do gain of function research. Like, what are you guys talking about? Man, this is crazy. But it's all fake. Don't believe anything you see in this video. Disclaimer. But yeah, let's watch this. I gotta see this one. This is about the Bill Gates experiment with Indians in 2009. Check this out. This is weird. 2009.
It was such an extraordinary report. I don't think Indian Parliament has ever come out with such a scathing report. And the government officials came up and said, we shouldn't have authorized this. We're sorry. We're not going to allow them again. And now they're back doing their same old tricks again.
The good news is that human clinical trials can start as early as July 2020 for India's first COVID-19 indigenous vaccine that's been developed by Bharat Biotech.
So you can imagine how the manipulation of the media, by the media, the manipulation of public opinion by leaders from all political parties unanimously saying, we want a vaccine. And the worst thing is they are taken as philanthropists, whereas what this actually is the acquisition of political and financial power. And I think the second most populous country with 1.3 billion people is going to be a good base for pharmaceutical companies to make a killing and also kill a lot of people in the process. Yes, I just find it a pity that we haven't been able to get any benefit for the girls who suffered, It's so terrifying as to what they're actually doing with the world.
We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
A 2018 scientific study released in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health concluded that over 490,000 children in India developed paralysis as a result of the Gates-supported oral polio vaccine that was administered between the years of 2000 and 2017. Using all the usual sleight of hand, U.S.-based media and fact-checkers rushed to bury the story. But thanks to the meticulous work of a team of Indian researchers and doctors, the inconvenient truth lives on the NIH.gov website.
I'm telling you, nothing's going on, nothing to see here. This is all fake, baby. Let's watch another one, man. I'm telling you.
On January 9th, 2024, Dr. Anthony Fauci admitted during congressional testimony that the 6-foot social distancing mandate, quote, sort of just appeared, end quote.
Dr. Anthony Fauci now admitting social distancing wasn't based on science. Fauci telling a House committee this week the idea, standing 6 feet apart, quote, just sort of appeared. The shocking admission comes nearly 4 years after statements like this.
Every aspect of that ending the COVID outbreak in 30 days has some aspect of it of physical separation, whether that's avoiding crowds, whether that's staying 6 feet away from people, whether that's doing teleworking. All of it does that.
Dr. Fauci also forced Americans to wear masks after admitting that they don't work.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
And remember when he said that the COVID vaccine would stop you from getting infected?
The situation is so clear, the data affirm, if you get vaccinated, you are protected, even with the Delta variant.
And while voices of dissent were silent, a Republican president and a Democratic president and their political parties and their members of Congress made the same choice to hand the keys of our nation over to Dr. Fauci. Then they stood by and watched as he destroyed our schools, our churches, our businesses, and our economy. Under their watch, we ended up having the highest death rate from COVID in the world. Throughout the pandemic, I was posting scientific evidence and warning that Dr. Fauci was wrong about many of these issues. And to silence that criticism, government officials and their allies in the media branded me as a conspiracy theorist and deplatformed me and heavily censored me both in the mainstream and social media.
This week, some of the biggest names in the anti-vax movement descended on D.C. for a rally to protest vaccine mandates.
And now Dr. Fauci is finally admitting that the Wuhan lab leak is not, after all, a conspiracy theory.
The most likely origin is a jumping of species. I still do think it is, at the same time as I'm keeping an open mind that it might be a lab leak.
Of course, I already knew this because I literally wrote the book on this incident. So the next time that the going gets rough, who do you want to have the power? We the people or the two political parties that got almost everything wrong? It's time to forge a new path together. If you want to see that happen, please donate to my campaign. Our filing.
RFK Jr. wrote a book. Listen to what Joe Rogan says. Listen to this.
I mean, if the real Anthony Fauci, the book by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is not, if it's not accurate, he would be sued.
I'm going to try to talk to you a little bit about what Tony Fauci did and how this happened to our country. 3 weeks after 9/11, there was an anthrax attack. They blamed it on Saddam Hussein. We went to war with him because of that. But it turned out that it came from one of 3 U.S. military labs.
So it was an anthrax attack, okay? And they blamed it on Saddam Hussein. During 9/11, they blamed it on Saddam Hussein. Turned out it actually came, allegedly, is what he's saying. Because everything in this video is fake. Please don't ban me. But let's hear that, man. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Jr. is not.
This is just nuts.
I'm going to try to talk to you a little bit about what Tony Fauci did and how this happened to our country. 3 weeks after 9/11, there was an anthrax attack. They blamed it on Saddam Hussein. We went to war with him because of that. It turned out that it came from one of 3 U.S. military labs. The lab that it almost certainly came from was by a vaccine maker who is partners with Tony Fauci. It's called Emergent, one of the COVID vaccine makers. And the intelligence agencies, which were, how many of you have heard of Event 201? Event 201 is a simulation that they did right before COVID hit. Actually, it was in October, so it was already circulating. and it was a drill for how to handle pandemics. But it didn't do the things you would think they would do, like how do we fix the VAERS system?
So they had a drill, Event 201. They had a drill, like a pandemic drill in October. And the whole COVID thing happened just a few months later. November, December, January, February, and I think it happened in March. So let's say about 5 months later, after they have this pandemic drill, Event 201, 5 months later, a pandemic actually happens? Like, what? So that's all fake. Everything is fake. Please don't ban me. Let's listen.
But it didn't do the things you would think they would do, like how do we fix the VAERS system to make sure that we get good data? How do we create isolation hospitals where older people who have COVID, we can send them there instead of sending them to nursing homes? How do we develop therapeutics like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, off-the-shelf therapeutics, and do it very quickly? How do we get doctors together and to talk about what's working? How do we tell people how to bolster their immune system? How do we stockpile vitamin D and get it to every black person in this country because they're all vitamin D deficient? How do we do these things? They didn't talk about any of that. What they talked about was how to turn America into a totalitarian state. How to impose censorship. In my book on Fauci, I've been able to find 22 of those simulations. And they have been practicing this for year and year. It's all sponsored by the CIA, as I demonstrate.
Sponsored. This guy's saying it's sponsored by the CIA. Oh, Lord. Lord, Lord, Lord. Connecting strange dots, part 2. Crazy. The CIA. Who you gonna call, bro? Who you gonna call? It's the motherfucking cops. Who you gonna call? Who are you gonna call when the CIA, bro? Jesus Christ.
22 of those simulations. And they have been practicing this for year and year. It's all sponsored by the CIA, as I demonstrate. Fauci and Bill Gates play key roles in them. Bill Gates called Fauci in 2000 to his home.
The CIA is involved, really? No wonder this shit's not gonna fucking stop. No wonder motherfuckers are just free range on the world because the goddamn CIA's backing these motherfuckers. Allegedly, because this is all fake. Please don't ban me. Disclaimer, let's go.
Play key roles in them. Bill Gates called Fauci in 2000 to his home in Seattle, a $147 million home, 40 acres on Lake Washington. He sat Fauci down in his library and he said, I want to propose to you a partnership, that you and I work together to vaccinate the world.
For the world at large, normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population.
That you and I work together to vaccinate the world.
For the world at large, normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population.
Dude looks fucking nuts, flailing his arms around, talking about the fucking... God damn, dude. How is this shit, like, where are... Is this real? Where are we? What the fuck is this place? What is this world?
The story in my book tells exactly how they went through that. And the story of these simulations is critically important because it was the way that they prepared. They didn't just have a few people involved. They had hundreds of thousands. Cops these were all top secret. Police officers in every community in this country, healthcare workers, first responders, were all drilled in this. How to censor, how to silence, how to impose tracking and tracing, how to do control. So they all went through these drills again and again, and it was a way of drilling and practicing a coup d'etat against American democracy.
So the goddamn drills were not based on how to help people. The drills were based on how to control the whole, like, to control people. Allegedly, because it's all fake, but wow. That's interesting.
All of the techniques they use. I've spent a lot of time studying the CIA because my family was in a 60-year fight with them, and I wrote a book about that battle called American Values. But I've read all of their manuals, and they have techniques for going into indigenous countries and causing chaos, shattering the societies, destroying the economy, creating social distance between people so that there's no unit cohesion. And then when everybody is demoralized and destroyed, coming in with a centralized control and imposing, as they did with all of us, they locked down America in a hostage taking. And they impose something that is part of their technique, which is called Stockholm Syndrome, where the captive becomes grateful to their captor and identifies with them and understands, comes to this belief that the only way that they can save their lives is through absolute obsequious obedience to their captors.
Stockholm Syndrome, when, the slave will basically fight for the slave owner and is so happy, just a super happy slave. And so it's basically like how if you were against vaccines, regular people would fight you. They would be mad at you, like actually hate you because you're against vaccines. When the whole COVID thing was happening, if you were against those vaccines at all, people hated you. They were fighting you over it. They're just angry. And so that's what he's talking about, Stockholm Syndrome, when the slave will literally fight for the slave owner. Like, that's crazy. Stockholm Syndrome is a real deal thing.
Destroyed, coming in with a centralized control and imposing, as they did with all of us, they locked down America in a hostage taking. And they impose something that is part of their technique, which is called Stockholm Syndrome, where the captive becomes grateful to their captor and identifies with them and understands, comes to this belief that the only way that they can save their lives is through absolute obsequious obedience to their captors. And all of these drills were intended to impose and to induce that condition in the entire public. And I'll tell you one other thing. The CIA, which I show in my book, the CIA did a series of mind control experiments back in the 60s and 70s called MK Ultra and Project Artichoke. And one of the famous experiments was called the Milgram experiment. And the Milgram experiment, and you guys look it up, Milgram experiment. What they did is they brought volunteers from every walk of life, college professors, construction workers, everybody. They put them in a room with a doctor in a lab coat, a figure of authority. And he would tell them, turn up the electricity and shock the person who's in the next room. That person was an actor. And they would tell him, turn it up higher, turn it up higher. It went into the death zone. 67% of the people put it into the death zone, even though many of them weren't crying at the time. They were begging the doctor not to make them do it. And what they found was that using authority, particularly doctors in white lab coats, 67% of the public will violate their own conscience and do what they're told. All of this was orchestrated. They put doctors in charge of America, speaking of authority, never showing us any science, but ordering us what to do. And
the Milgram experiment, and that is a real thing, man. And this is the CIA. This is the CIA, and he just said all this is funded by the CIA. So, or maybe not funded. I think he said it's just backed. Like it's all protected by the CIA is what he's claiming. And then you go back and it's like, oh man, these dots, man, getting connected.
What they're told. All of this was orchestrated. They put doctors in charge of America, speaking of authority, never showing us any science, but ordering us what to do. And if, as you read my book, you're going to see all of the direct CIA involvement. And I name the person, I name the officers, year after year that were directly involved, partnered with Bill Gates, partnered with Tony Fauci, creating these scenarios in anticipation. And then, of course, they're brewing up. I'll tell you a secret that I talk about in my book. I'm going to shut up. Okay. You guys are the only people who know this, okay? I'm going to ask you to buy my book, which all of my profits are going back to the CHD. It was with a Wuhan lab, okay, in 2014. The reason that Tony Fauci was doing gain of function is because after the anthrax attack, billions of dollars started pouring into bioweapons research, and Tony Fauci needed to get his share. So he gets $6.1 billion from us, the U.S. taxpayer. He gets $1.6 billion every year from the military, from BARDA and DARPA and the Pentagon. And that is for doing bioweapons research disguised as vaccine research, because they're the same thing. It's called dual use. In 2014, a bunch of its little creatures escaped. They didn't injure anybody, but there were real scares. And people found out about it. And 300 top scientists in this country wrote a letter to President Obama saying, you got to shut down Fauci. President Obama ordered Fauci to stop. Fauci stopped 21 of the experiments, but the worst ones by a psychopath called Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina. He kept going, and that is almost certainly the one that produced this COVID-19. Plus.
So let's pause. Now he's talking about Barrick, this guy Barrick, okay? Now, they asked him in court Congress asked him if he basically knows that Barrick guy, and he said he doubts if he ever saw him. Where is it? Said, oh, I doubt. Look. They asked Fauci, do you know Ralph Barrick? Not really. I know who he is. I doubt if I've ever met him. What? I may have met him at one of the meetings where there are thousands of scientists saying hi to each other. But I know who he is. He's a scientist at University of North Carolina. And he's funded by NIAID? He is. But you don't remember meeting him in person? Again, I don't recall. Bro! And then RFK has just said, right? RFK Jr. just said his name, Barrick, right? The Barrick guy, Ralph Barrick. He said he's almost certain that Ralph Barrick is the one that was doing the coronavirus mutations in North Carolina. Listen.
And 300 top scientists in this country wrote a letter to President Obama saying, you got to shut down Fauci. President Obama ordered Fauci to stop. Fauci stopped 21 of the experiments, but the worst ones by a psychopath called Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina. He kept going, and that is almost certainly the one that produced this COVID-19. Plus, he moved his money offshore out of the nosy oversight of the White House to the Wuhan lab. The Wuhan lab was built by a French company called BioMiro. That company, and this is something nobody knows, but it's in my book, and you guys are the only people who know it. That company was built by BioMiro, and BioMiro contracted with the Chinese to install what they call a negative airflow system, which is a critical piece of infrastructure for a Bio4 lab. Because you don't want air going out of that lab. The air can only go in and nothing come out because those viruses are so tiny, you can't filter them. So they're going to get out if you have any air coming out. So this infrastructure piece is very complex and very important. And BioMiro was contracted to put it in, but guess what? They never did. the CEO of BioMiro was a French man called Stéphane Bancel. Stéphane Bancel today is the CEO of Moderna, which is the company that has made billions and billions. They now have a net worth of $60 billion because of that escape. And I wrote a letter to him and asked him about this sequence, and I never heard back from him. But I have it very well documented. So what I want to ask you to do, a lot of you want to know how to help. One of the ways you can only go in and nothing come out because...
Did you just hear that? Oh my God. They moved it offshore to Wuhan, right? They moved it to China. In that facility, the CEO of the company that was supposed to install the infrastructure to keep air from escaping that lab didn't install that system to keep the air escaping. Didn't install it. And that same CEO of that company is the CEO of Moderna? Bruh. No. What? He said nobody knows this. Like, this is in his book, and like this. Whoa. Connecting strange dots. That's crazy.
Or out of the nosy oversight of the White House to the Wuhan lab. The Wuhan lab was built by a French company called BioMiro. That company, and this is something nobody knows, but it's in my book, and you guys are the only people who know it. That company was built by BioMiro, and BioMiro contracted with the Chinese to install what they call a negative airflow system, which is a critical piece of infrastructure for a lab. Because you don't want air going out of that lab. The air can only go in and nothing come out because those viruses are so tiny, you can't filter them. So they're going to get out if you have any air coming out. So this infrastructure piece is very complex and very important. And BioMiro was contracted to put it in, but guess what? They never did. And the CEO of BioMiro was a French man called Stéphane Bancel. Stéphane Bancel today is the CEO of Moderna, which is the company that has made billions and billions. They now have a net worth of $60 billion because of that escape. And I wrote a letter to him and asked him about this sequence, and I never heard back from him.
All right, let's watch this video. Top Anthony Fauci aide is confronted with emails between him, Anthony Fauci, and Peter Desks. What is his name? What's his name? Let me see. Peter something. Peter Daszak. Yeah, Peter Daszak. So let's listen to this video, wherever it is. Which one? Right here. Let's listen.
You wrote to him and you asked, do I get a kickback? Too much fooking, F-O-O-K-I-N-G, money. Do you deserve it all? Question mark. Let's discuss. Would you like to explain?
That's typical black humor between people like Peter and me and other folks who show up in these emails.
And he responded saying, thanks for the kind words, and of course there's a kickback. You wrote to him.
He called it black humor. Oh, it's a little joke. We're just talking about kickbacks. It's a joke. We're doing it all for the money, man. It's a joke, though. We're not doing it for the money. We're just joking in the emails. Come on, man. Let's listen to 1 minute of RFK. 1 minute.
And the last one of these was in 2019 in October. And it was hosted by Bill Gates, by Fauci, and by Avril Haines. I'm sure a lot of you have gone and looked at this on YouTube. It's called Event 201. That same week, Bill Gates, who was overseeing this simulation, bought 1.1 million shares of BioNTech vaccine, which later became the Pfizer vaccine. He then sold that, almost all that stock, 87%, 2 years later, at a $242 million profit. And a week after that, he publicly announced the vaccine didn't work. This is what you call a pump and dump scheme. Because he was the guy who was on TV with his minion, Peter Hotez, who took $52 million from Gates for Gates made his institution. So you had the pair of them pumping up this stock for 2 years and then dumping it a week before he goes on TV and says, oh, it didn't work after all.
Pump and dump. Dude just fucking finessed. $250 million is crazy. Sheesh. Let's watch this video, 36-second video. This is a very enlightening video as well.
Beyond just their frequent collaborations and cooperation in the past, Fauci has direct ties to Gates projects and funding. In 2010, he was appointed to the Leadership Council of the Gates-founded Decade of Vaccines project to implement a global vaccine action plan, a project to which Gates committed $10 billion of funding. And in October of last year, just as the current pandemic was beginning, the Gates Foundation announced a $100 million contribution to the National Institute of Health to help, among other programs, Fauci's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases research into HIV.
Let's listen to Bill Gates, man, talking about the vaccines will change our DNA.
One final way that's new and is promising is called the RNA vaccine. With RNA and DNA, instead of putting that shape in, you put instructions in the code to make that shape.
Everything that I'm about to mention is currently being developed by Bill Gates, often in partnership with the CV19 Playbook, MIT, all of which is backed by the United Nations and the Rockefeller Foundation. Due to ongoing mutations with CV19, the CV vaccine currently being developed will alter our DNA through an actual synthesizing of our individual genetic code using mRNA and CRISPR technology, which acts as scissors by cutting DNA at a designated spot and removing or inserting a new sequence with an artificial code.
All right, let's watch this video of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about Fauci and his experiments offshore.
As you pointed out, gain-of-function studies are the kind of science that is designed to make microbes and pathogens more virulent, more transmissible, and more deadly. It was in this country, they started doing it in 1947, the military and the intelligence agencies, in order to develop bioweapons. In 1969, President Nixon banned it all, shut down Fort Detrick, shut down all the labs. That ban, and then signed the Bioweapons Convention. That ban lasted till 2001. And after the anthrax attacks, Anthony Fauci essentially restarted the arms race and the bioweapons arms race, and did it under the pretension of developing vaccines because of the same science that you develop bioweapons and vaccines. In 2014, 3 of his bugs escaped, and 300 scientists wrote letters to President Obama asking him to shut down Anthony Fauci. President Obama declared a moratorium, but instead of shutting down his experiments, he moved them offshore, mainly to the Wuhan lab. And now, the principal institutions of our government, the CIA, the FBI, the State Department, Department of Energy, all say that it is most likely that those experiments resulted in the COVID-19 pandemic beginning in 2019. So President Trump today moved to shut down this kind of research in this country and to stop funding it abroad.
All right, let's listen to this video of Fauci in 2017. Was this 2017? Yep.
Given, as you heard from the introduction, that I have been around for a while and have had the opportunity and the privilege and the pleasure of serving in 5 administrations. I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today, is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. There will be a surprise outbreak. There will be a surprise outbreak.
I don't know how you can sit there in 2017 saying there's going to be a surprise. There will be a surprise outbreak. You know, what is that about? What is that? How's that even? What? That's crazy. All right, let's listen to this video on Bill Gates. This is Bill Gates, and I think Fauci's in this video too. Let's see.
To cause, say, 10 million excess deaths. An epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths.
There is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, but also there will be a surprise outbreak.
Deaths. An epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths.
Why would Bill Gates say an epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to say cause 10 million excess deaths? What? And he said that in 2017. What is that? Okay, so you know how they asked Fauci if he knew Ralph Barrick, the person in North Carolina that was doing all the gain of function research, the crazy experiments. They asked if he knows Ralph Barrick. He said, not really. I know who he is. I doubt if I ever met him. He's trying to blow it all off, act like he never met him. But right here, I have the emails of Emily, which is his right-hand lady, Fauci's right hand, messaging someone, and they're talking about having a discussion with Barrick, Dr. Barrick, that he just said he doesn't know. So look, hello Ralph, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Emily, blah blah blah, would like to meet you at 2 p.m. on Tuesday in Dr. Fauci's office on campus to discuss coronavirus, P3CO experiments. So literally there's an email going to Ralph Barrick that Dr. Fauci claimed to not know. There's an email going to Ralph Barrick, and it's saying Dr. Fauci and his right hand would like to meet you at 2 p.m. on Tuesday in Dr. Fauci's office. So how can he sit there and say he doesn't really know who he is and he doubts if he ever met him, but then here's emails right here. Here's an email showing they know each other and they go have little meetings in their office on campus to discuss coronavirus, P3CO experiments. So how do you not know him when you come on. So just a little disclaimer, every single thing in this video is fake. Don't believe anything you see in this video. But yeah, Emily, his little right hand, is an American physician, scientist, and infectious disease specialist. She was the director of the Division of Microbiology and Infectious Diseases at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases until placed on an administrative leave in 2025. She got placed on leave. See, when the lid's blowing off, there everybody goes. Out of here. They're out of here. They're running away. They're gone. They're hopping, skipping town. Previously, she was deputy director of blah, 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 blah. Yup. Right-hand man. Like, come on. And then the Peter Daszak or whatever that one guy was talking to about, money. The whole, when he's saying, it's just dark humor, and when they're joking about kickbacks. He's a zoologist and a disease ecologist. President of EcoHealth Alliance, a U.S. nonprofit focused on zoonotic diseases and pandemic prevention. And he collaborated with the Wuhan Institute of Virology on bat coronavirus research and served in the WHO's COVID-19 Origins Investigation Team. And so this guy's over here joking about kickbacks in emails, you know, the whole for coronavirus, for the corona. Like, this is crazy. So joking about kickbacks, and like, this is wild. All right, so I just want to talk about the MMR vaccine and autism rates. I'm not saying they're linked or anything. Every single thing you see in this video is fake. Don't believe it. Just disclaimer. But I just want to look at the MMR vaccine info, and apparently it came out in the United States in 1971. Okay. Autism was around 1 in 2,500 to 1 in 10,000. I'd fucking probably say it's about 1 in every 10,000. Okay, it was very rare. Very fucking rare. Alright? By the damn 1990s, rates rose to 1 in every 500. So, basically a 10x to a 20x for autism. So, by 2000, estimates showed 1 in every 150 children. And 2014, 1 in every 68. This is insane. And 1 in 36 in 2020. Okay, so we went from 1 in every 10,000, 1 in every 500. That's a 20x in just 20 years. Wow. A 20x in 20 years is something. That's something. So basically what happened was they started to advance with their whole diagnostic, you know, policy, protocol, whatever. So basically, this is how they allegedly were able to hide the fact that it was directly linked, because what they're saying is, oh, we weren't calling certain things autism way back, so we expanded, you know, the way we look at it. We expanded our perspective on what's considered autistic. And so yeah, they just advanced with, they're just trying to claim that there's no actual, you know, connection. There's no actual connection because they refined the whole autism category and added other things in there. So it looked like autism was increasing like crazy, but really they're just expanding their perspective on what to say is autistic and what isn't. So, you know, they're just saying, oh, he has a speech problem and whatever, autistic. Oh, he has this and that. We used to not call this autistic, but we're gonna call it autistic. So they're calling everything autistic. A lot of different you know, disabilities, mental disabilities. They're calling a lot more things autistic. So that is their excuse for why the increase is so dramatic, looks so dramatic. It's just because we're calling more things autism. We're saying more things are autistic. But I think that's just a shady fucking little weak ass cover up, allegedly, because this is all fake. Please don't ban me. This is all fake. All entertainment only. Okay? But I think that's a little bullshit ass cover up is what that is right there. Oh yeah, we're just saying more things are autism. But really this fucking rate's actually going up directly from you know what. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about the whole autism thing, man. These people are like allegedly mad scientists, man. Mad fucking scientists. This is crazy. So there was a video of RFK Jr. saying that Nixon was the one that shut down the bioweapons research a long time ago, way back in the day. So in 1969, Nixon announced the termination of the U.S. offensive biological weapons program on November 25th, 1969. National Security Decision Memorandum 35. This included shutting down offensive bioweapons research at facilities like Fort Dix, blah, 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 and halting production at places like blah, 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 blah. The United States shifted to defense search only, vaccine detection. Okay, vaccines, okay. So, 1969, Nixon shut it down. Nixon said, none of this fucking crazy bioweapon shit. You guys ain't, no, none of this. This is crazy. All right? And I was just curious, like, all right, if Nixon really did that, if he really shut them down, you know, from being able to do that, I wonder what happened to him. And so I'm asking about bad things that happened to Nixon. Post-shutdown, possibly implying retaliation by powerful interests. Here's what the records show, with an eye towards your conspiracy lens. Watergate scandal. Right after 1969, he got caught up in a scandal. Nixon's administration was caught in a web of illegal activities, including the June 17th, 1972 break-in at Democratic National Committee headquarters in Washington, in a Watergate complex. Wiretapping and espionage were linked to Nixon's re-election campaign. It's crazy. Investigations revealed abuses of power. Nixon faced impeachment proceedings, and he resigned in 74. So this guy shut it down, shut all the crazy science experiments down in 69. 5 years later, he was forced to resign. Sheesh. Some theorists, you know, they're saying that the powerful interests, like ending the Vietnam War, bioweapons research, they're mad about that. No hard evidence, of course, no ties, but hey. And after 1969, there were assassination attempts. You know, planned to shoot Nixon in Canada, but failed due to Nixon's motorcycle speed. Bremen later shot George Wallace, paralyzing him. That's crazy. 1974, Sam Bick attempted to hijack a plane to crash into the White House and kill Nixon. Killed 2 people and himself before succeeding. That's crazy. This guy shuts it down and boom. And it's kind of funny because what did RFK Jr. say that Trump tried to do, that Trump did? Shut down the gain-of-function research. And what happened to Donald Trump? Assassination attempts. You know? Come on. They don't... Connecting strange dots, man. We are connecting...
As you pointed out, gain-of-function study is the kind of science that is designed to make...
And so the gain-of-function research is a kind of science that is designed to make these diseases extremely deadly and very easily transmissible and just powerful, you know? Make them very easy to spread. So they're creating super viruses in the lab. And oh man, Trump shut it down. Assassination attempts, you know? They don't like them. Nixon shut it down. Assassination attempts. It's just crazy, man. Crazy. All right, I just want to listen to this Joe Rogan clip real quick. It's 1 minute and 22 seconds. He's talking about Fauci, I believe. Let's listen.
Right.
Yeah.
You been watching the Fauci hearings?
No.
Whoa. Dude, it's wild. It's wild.
What's going on?
Still like deeply in denial about everything. They're confronting him about emails they got, about deleting emails in preparation of a Freedom of Information Act request. They got emails from people that he worked with saying, that don't worry, Fauci is too smart to talk about this stuff on emails. You'll either have to deliver something to him or meet him in person. There's all this like weird deception shit. There's people that said This is clearly leaked from a lab. Look at the ferrin cleavage sites. They have to be that's put into the virus to make it more infectious to human beings. They're talking about it in the email, and then that same guy, after talking to Fauci, like 3 days later, is like, it's ridiculous to think this came from a lab. This is clearly from a natural and they're all talking about discrediting people who are talking about the lab leak theory. I mean, what they did was insane, and they did it in front of everybody. And finally, Fauci has to talk about it to people, but he's still in denial about all of it. There's no science that says that masking for children works. There's no science that says that vaccinating children works, that it's good, that it's overall good. Right.
Yikes. I want to watch this video. I don't think I've even saw this. I don't think I've seen this video yet. Let's see.
Let me ask you about some of the things that you have commented on with regard to what NIH and Dr. Fauci have said, and frankly, the lies they've been caught in regarding the coronavirus. I want to highlight two of them. In response to a congressional inquiry from October of 2021, just last year, the NIH attempted to walk back assertions by NIH Director Collins and Fauci that NIH had not funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan. You commented at the time saying, and I'm going to quote you now, NIH, specifically Collins, Fauci, and Tabak, lied to Congress, lied to the press, and lied to the public knowingly, willfully, brazenly. On May the 11th, Dr. Fauci said the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. You commented on that, saying the documents make it clear that assertions by the NIH director, Francis Collins, and Fauci that the NIH did not support gain-of-function research are untruthful. So just expand on that, if you would. I mean, what are the implications of Dr. Fauci's continued blatant dishonesty regarding NIH's funding of gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
I stand by my statement. The statements made on repeated occasions to the public, to the press, and to policymakers by the NIAID director, Dr. Fauci, have been untruthful. I do not understand why those statements are being made, because they are demonstrably false.
I think we're being terrible PR people because we're flu ambassadors and we're saying flu is not sexy. He's very sexy.
Don't tell me it isn't boring. Don't you dare.
We got to get you trained first.
No, isn't anybody that's afraid of influenza. You go in a focus group and you say, are you afraid of getting HIV if you're at risk? Oh, absolutely. Are you afraid of getting cancer? Absolutely. Are you afraid of the flu? Don't bother me.
PR issue in some ways.
I wish the narrative would have come up on the video coming through, because what's called out in that narrative is a sense of urgency.
Disruption. Why don't we blow the system up? I mean, obviously we can't just turn off the spigot on the system we have and then say, hey, everyone in the world should get this new vaccine we haven't given to anyone yet. But there must be some...
The sense of urgency.
Sense of urgency.
Do we need to have lots of people die for that sense of urgency to occur?
Well, the incredible thing is that lots of people do die every year, and yet we aren't mobilizing.
You know, we have to take that sense of urgency, that economic cost, that societal disruption.
All right, let's watch this last video. I just think it's kind of interesting the way he's talking. Let's listen.
Yeah, have you talked to Dr. Fauci about it?
Yeah, he and I don't talk about the conspiracy theories because, neither he or I, know how to stop that. He and I talk about the antibody studies. The scientific team at the foundation gets on the phone with him on a regular basis, and because he's seen company innovations that we're seeing things he's not, because we have a global view, very, rich dialogue with the private companies on a regular basis. And so, we're saying, okay, how do we get antibodies going faster? Or what are we thinking about the different vaccines? So it's a, helpful collaboration, which we've always had. He's an infectious disease expert. Those used to be very obscure. People didn't talk about malaria and TB, but, Tony and I, we love talking about that.
Tony and I, we love talking about that. Oh yeah, you do. Alright, that is it for this video. That's pretty much all I wanted to go over. I appreciate you if you stayed for the whole video. Time is, the most valuable asset. So if you stayed for the whole video, I really appreciate you. And hope you stay tuned for the next one. Peace.
Well, he wrote a book saying that Tony Fauci and I kill millions of children and make billions of dollars with vaccines. And, people can judge for themselves whether that's correct or not.